Welcome to Sitcom Showdown, a podcast that reviews classic sitcom episodes and inducts them into our very own Hall of Fame. As usual, one of us has chosen a sitcom episode and the other guy has no idea what it's going to be. Will they already know it? Will they love it? Can they be convinced that it's worthy? Let's find out on the Sitcom Showdown.
Hello listeners, and welcome back to episode 74 of Sitcom Showdown.
Yep.
It's great to have you with us. I'm Steve, and Jeff is here as well.
Hello.
And it's his turn to choose something this fortnight.
Yes, it is.
So we all need a laugh, Jeff. What have you got?
Okay, this should provide a laugh. We're going back to the very early days of Sitcom Showdown like we did fairly recently-ish by revisiting Fawlty Towers. The first episode we ever did. So we're going back exactly 70 episodes.
Yes.
We're revisiting a sitcom that's already had an episode in the Hall of Fame, and that would be Married with Children.
Oh.
An episode of Married with Children from 1990, from Season 5, Episode 7, called Married with... Aliens. Hey.
Nice.
And you know this one,
Yes.
Steve. I know you know it. It was the 87th episode of Married with Children overall out of, I don't know, 250
Loads.
something?
Yeah.
This was broadcast on the Fox network when that network was very young. Married with Children was one of their first shows. It's written by a lady called Ellen Fogel, who wrote some brilliant episodes of Married with Children,
Yeah.
including God's Shoes. And she also wrote Married with Who, which was the episode that introduced Jefferson.
Well, they must have considered her a safe pair of hands to introduce a new character.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah.
Okay, episode description. After Al returns home from work with a head injury, he sees 6 little green aliens stealing his socks. The only problem is that no one sees them but Al, so everyone thinks he's crazy when he tells other people that he's seen them.
Yeah.
Hey.
Sums it up.
But before we get into this episode, we do have to go through the sitcom description and a little bit about the actors. So, Married with Children, obviously it's from the USA. It was broadcast from 87 to 97. It was the longest lasting live action sitcom on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first to be broadcast in that network's prime time slot.
Yep. Created a few waves, did it?
Oh, I'm sure it did, because I think, and now we really are going into improvisation, I reckon if you'd looked at your Family Ties and the Cosby Show, where you've got all these lovely, intelligent, well-to-do-ish sort of families, and then you bring along the Bundys.
Yeah, turned all that on its head.
Totally did. But then that sort of thing became the norm, I suppose. Yeah.
Instead of bad things happening and then everything turning out perfectly with a bow on it at the end of the episode, everything would go well for Al through the episode and then go completely pear-shaped at the end.
Exactly. The Bundy curse. Anyway, so set in Chicago in the suburbs, and it's Al Bundy, who was a once glorious high school football player, but he's morphed into a down-on-his-luck women's shoe salesman. Apparently because he took that as a summer job after he left school, and then he'd never graduated to anything else, so to speak. He just stayed working.
Yeah. Well, the evil red-headed Grinch stole his life.
Yeah, that's right. Brilliantly remembered there, Steve. Speaking of which, we've got Peg, who, they've described her here, where I pinched this from on IMDb and or Wikipedia, as his lazy wife. And no offence to Peg, because, people do say you sit a damn fine couch, and she does sit a damn fine couch, but that's her only skill set, and scoffing chocolates. Anyhow, so they've got Kelly, who is the not particularly bright but very attractive daughter, and Bud, who is particularly bright but not very attractive son. Yeah.
Which one is the eldest? It's Kelly, is it?
Kel's older than Bud,
Yep.
And then, of course, there's Marcy next door, who in the early years was married to Steve, and then he left, and then there was a few seasons without a husband for Marcy, and then she marries Jefferson, and the golden age begins. Anyway, never mind
so
all that.
The golden age starts in season what?
Season 6 or 7.
Season 6 or 7.
And that's after season 5, which this comes from, which is just replete with classics. Anyway, there was 259 episodes, 11 seasons, 10 years, and of course we all know that the theme song was Love and Marriage by Frank Sinatra. Although, with the DVD set that I've got, they didn't pay the money to get that song, so you've got a instrumental
Yep.
approximation of that, which is pretty lame. All right, let's whiz through these actors, Steve. We've got Ed O'Neill playing Al Bundy.
Yep.
Oh, he's a genius. So yes, well, we all know Ed O'Neill from Modern Family in recent years. Right. Anyways, you've got Peggy Bundy, whose maiden name was Wanker, and she comes from Wanker County, played by Katie Segal. So we know that Al's wife refuses to do any housework or get a job. And Peggy spends most of her time watching Oprah or stealing Al's almost non-existent paycheck to spend money on stuff they can't afford, while mocking him all the way. But anyway, Katie Segal, wow, she's easily the most successful actor out of any of this crew. And in fact, out of, if you looked at any actress's career, there wouldn't be many who have stayed more steadily in work than she has. So I'll run you through a few things, Dave. Futurama, of course, she did the voice of Leela for ages. She had a main role in Sons of Anarchy, so she did 92 episodes of that. And I watched all of Sons of Anarchy. Did you watch Sons of Anarchy? Anyway, in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, she played Jake Peralta's mum.
Sweet.
Hey, did you know that?
No.
I didn't know that either. There's been a few seasons I've missed.
And his dad is played by a brilliant comedy actor as well.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Bradley Whitfield, isn't it? From West Wing. He's awesome.
Right.
Carry on.
Right, yeah, so Katie Segal's also been in 13 episodes of a sitcom called Tucker. She was in 76 episodes in a main role in 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. She was in 12 episodes of The Connors, which, as you know, is the Roseanne-less Roseanne. And that was as many as I was willing to put down. Her IMDb is enormous. Extremely talented lady, and a fantastic singer too. Right, we're going to move on to Kelly Bundy, Christina Applegate. Wow, she's been in a few good movies and stuff like that. There was Anchorman and Anchorman 2. But I remember her being in Don't Tell Mum the Babysitter's Dead.
I was going to say, that's the one that stands out to me.
Yeah, which had the brilliant line, "The dishes are done, man."
Yeah.
Which,
wasn't it that after they shot them with a shotgun or something?
Yeah, or just throwing the plates up in the air. Oh, great. Anyway, yeah, Christina Applegate's had her own sitcoms. So she had Jessie, in which she was in the starring role for 42 episodes, and Samantha Who for 35 episodes, and then another 35 episodes of another sitcom called Up All Night. And her co-star in that one was Will Arnett.
Ooh,
wow.
Sounds interesting.
It could be a watcher. Okay, we'll move on to Bud, who is listed here as Budrick Bud Franklin Bundy. Now, I'm sure his real name wasn't Budrick, but if it is, I'd be pleased. Played by David Faustino. He's the youngest Bundy. He's the most intelligent family member. He's the only one who's been to college, but he is a bit preoccupied with sex. And he does always, well, not always, but usually fail with women. Anyway, David Faustino's first real telly was when he was really, really, really young in 1980 as a wee lad in Little House on the Prairie.
Whoa.
You could not get two diametrically opposed shows than Little House on the Prairie and Married
I saw
with
him
Children.
on Little House on the Prairie and thought, he'll be perfect for Bud. No.
Oh, man. Apparently, he's been a recurring character since 2016, every now and again, in that very popular soap, which I can't believe is still actually on, The Young and the Restless.
No way.
Can you believe that's still on?
Come on, not
man.
really, no.
Oh, my goodness. But, yeah.
It's not young anymore.
No. Anyway, yeah, he's been in other things like Entourage and Bones and these sorts of things. He did do a web show back in the day when web shows were very unusual things called Starving, about people who were childhood stars, but now they're on sort of Skid Row sort of deal with him and the guy who was in the show, Parker Lewis Can't Lose, which was the TV equivalent of
Ferris Bueller or
Ferris
something.
Bueller. Thank you. I enjoyed it, but it's not for the kids.
No, okay.
Yeah, cool. Now, lastly, Marcy Darcy, a.k.a. Marcy Rhodes, and of course we know that's Amanda Bierce.
Yep.
As I'm pronouncing it, and Al's nemesis. Now, Amanda, she sort of decided to go in a directory direction. That didn't work, did it? Yeah, so she did 31 episodes directing Married with Children. Then she's directed episodes of other sitcoms like Reba, Malcolm and Eddie, The Jamie Foxx Show, Dharma and Greg, Veronica's Closet, There's Two Guys, a Girl and a Pizza Place, which I think was Ryan Reynolds, and Jessie, which starred Christina Applegate. But there was a recent interview with Amanda from as short a time ago as April, which you can track down on a new podcast called The Laugh Track with Jerry Strauss.
Ooh,
so there's a
nice
plug for Jerry. Hey, there you go. Anyway, now with the actors out of the way, I think we should go away and watch this episode, Steve. We'll see if it stands up.
Come on over here and sit on the couch and tell us what happened.
Well, you'll laugh at me.
We won't laugh at you.
Well, the moon men came back and took my socks.
Isn't it funny how UFOs always visit idiots? Well, I guess they went up to the last idiot and said, "Take us to your leader."
Look, you gotta believe me. They came in here and they took the socks off my feet, then they measured my head, then they went to the laundry basket and took the socks out of there. Does that sound like the ramblings of an idiot? Ask Buck, he was here.
Ask Buck. Okay. Buck, honey, why don't you tell us what you and Daddy saw? Uh-huh.
All right, I'm going to launch into this synopsis, Dave.
Yep.
Okay, so this episode opens like most early episodes of Married with Children and mid-episodes of Married with Children in that there's 1 minute, 20 seconds of just intro. There's no pre-credit scenes.
Yeah, and with the Frank stripped out of it,
Yeah.
it's not very exciting.
No, it's not very exciting. Anyway, we open in the fabulous Bundy lounge room with Kelly, Bud and Peg all on the couch arguing over which one of them has to go and pick up Al from the hospital. Because they got a call that he'd fallen over and hit his head. But they're each making excuses as to why they can't pick Al up, including, well, this is later on, but Bud has a classic line of, well, I barely know the man.
Yeah.
Which, just the sheer delivery alone is just brilliant. At this point, Al walks in.
Yeah, so they've been arguing about this for so long that Al gave up and came home.
Yeah. I don't know how he got himself home, but he must have driven his car or something.
Didn't he catch the bus?
He did
Was that the second time? Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we're treated to a timeless classic of a work story because normally in these episodes, Al will get home from work and he's got some sort of story of a terrible thing that happened to him while he was selling shoes.
A large lady who wanted to try on 25 pairs of shoes.
Ballerina slippers in size 3 or something.
Yes, insisted that she was a size 3.
Yeah, exactly. All that sort of stuff. But this one's a classic, right? This one takes the cake. Al was scrounging for change in the mall fountain when he slipped on some wishing pond slime.
Yes.
And took a header into the statue of the goddess of the malls. Even worse, the quarter he was chasing turned out to be a pull tab from a beer can.
Yeah.
And the family's only reaction to Al's heartbreaking story is Kelly goes, "Oh, did you get the quarter?" They don't care. Anyway, getting no sympathy from the family, and with Peg having cooked no meal for him or anything like that, Al trudges up the stairs to bed. So we cut to later on, and we're in Peg and Al's bedroom, and both of them are lying in the darkness, but Al clearly can't sleep. He wakes up Peg to tell her that he's haunted by all the dimes and nickels he stepped over to get to that quarter, which was just a pull tab. He can't believe it. He won't be able to sleep. And he asks Peg to get him an ice pack for his head, because I guess he's kind of woozy. And Peg refuses and calls him a whiny baby. And then she turns her back on him and goes back to sleep. Meanwhile, though, Al can't sleep still, and he turns to look out the window. And as he's looking out the window, he sees a little green alien in a silver spacesuit and a huge head staring in at him.
Yep.
Ooh. Yeah. Any comments on the alien there, or nothing yet?
No, for the second episode in a row, I'd say they should have kept the window shut.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly right. What's with these people? So Al flips out and he starts to wake up Peg. And she turns to look towards the window, but the alien is gone. And so she just turns over again and goes back to sleep.
Yep.
And Al, snuggles back up in the covers or whatever, and then he looks at the window again to make sure he was imagining it. But he sees the alien there staring in at him. And even worse, there are more aliens appearing.
They're multiplying.
Yep. And they climb into Al's window, and then 3 aliens run over to the bed, at the foot of the bed, the end there where Al's shoes are, and they fish his socks out of his shoes, and then they joyfully run back out and go out the window.
They're ecstatic.
Oh, they are. Al has been kind of frozen in shock this whole time. He sort of jumps up and runs to the window to make sure they're gone. And then when he's sure they're gone, he runs over and then shakes Peg and goes, Peg, wake up. So the little green aliens came in here and stole my sock.
Moon Man stole my socks.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, Peg doesn't believe Al, and she goes straight back to sleep. But Al looks over the window again. Suddenly the aliens' faces appear again, and one of them waves at him, and Al's freaking out, and he just pulls the covers up over his head and pretends nothing is happening.
Yep.
And we cut to the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do cut to the next day, you've got Bud and Peg and Kelly all again on the couch, arguing over who's going to pick him up from the doctor.
Yeah, it's deja vu.
Because not only is he still got his head injury, but he's also hallucinating stuff. So off he goes to the doctor's. I think he's got the day off from work.
But he's dressed exactly as if he had just come from work. So
yeah, he's only got one pair of pants, I'm sure, the brown ones.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, as they're arguing over who's going to pick Al up, before they even finish, Al walks in saying he realised after a few hours nobody was coming to pick him up, and he caught the bus home. And there's a whole story there with the bus ride as well, which we won't recount here. But Al asks if anyone called while he was away, and Kelly says, yes, there was a call. And we're going to put in a clip.
Anybody call?
Yeah, the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot wanted to know if you were still on for poker tomorrow night over at Darth Vader's house. The Klingons are bringing the chips.
So, after taking the mickey out of poor old Al, Bud and Kelly and Peg say they're off to the movies and they're going to go next door and pick up Marcy, and off they go. And on the way out, Bud gives Al this plastic toy ring thing that can make a whizzy, whistly sound like
Yeah, exactly.
if you blow into it. And
It's the kind of thing you'd get out of one of those machines
Christmas
that you
cracker.
put the 20 cents in or a,
yes.
or a
Yeah.
Christmas cracker. Exactly.
Absolutely. So Bud's obviously pulled that one out of his stash and said, now, Dad, if the aliens come and get you blowing this, and the alien police will come and save you.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Handy.
What a patronising worm. Yeah,
Gives
it is
him
handy.
pat on the head
A
as
pat
well.
on the head. Oh, my goodness. So with that parting shot, the family leaves Al on the couch. But then Buck, the Bundy dog, he jumps up on the couch with Al to watch TV with him. And Al's saying to Buck that, he must have imagined the aliens, because if a great guard dog like Buck didn't sense them and bark, then they can't have been real.
Yep.
But naturally, at this point, the front door opens and 6 of the little aliens come in.
Yep.
Although they do a zoom close-up on the door handle being rattled
Yep.
to frighten you first, which is pretty cool. So the aliens swarm in, and they're walking around with all this detecting equipment and all sorts of stuff, and 2 of them just run straight over to Al's feet and take the socks right off them.
Yep, they're gone.
And then they've got another one measuring his head, and then another one doing something else to poor old Al, and he's just trying to pretend nothing's happening, and he, is looking from side to side, slowly putting the ring up to his face to blow on the ring and call the alien police. Anyway, meanwhile, an alien's found a laundry hamper with all of Al's socks in there, because Peg never does any laundry, Steve.
Eureka.
So this is 3 weeks worth of Al's socks. Yeah,
Yeah.
Eureka, exactly. And the aliens all dive in and grab Al's socks, and then they sort of run out the door. But then, as one's leaving the last one, it pats Al on the head.
Yeah. Second pat on the head.
Oh, wow.
What's Buck doing while all this is happening?
I don't know, man. He's run up the stairs or something like that.
He's a great guard dog.
I didn't
What's he
watch
doing
what Buck
about it?
did. Yeah. All right, that's what we're going to have to figure out. What was Buck up to?
Not much.
Not much, exactly. But then they've all left. Al's just traumatized, and he's sitting there and he starts talking to the ring. Help me. Moon Man, have my socks. Over. And he goes, blows into the ring to send the message to the alien police.
He's waiting for the alien police.
Right, so we cut to a little while later, and all the family, they get home from the movies, and they've brought Marcy over with them, and they come in, they can't see Al anywhere. And then Peggy goes to hang up her coat in the coat cupboard next to the front door, and she sees Al huddling in there, probably, shivering with fright.
Yeah, shaking with fright.
He's clinging to this baseball bat. So they know Al's lost it completely.
Yes, and show him loads of sympathy.
Of course. They coax him out, right? And they sit him down on the couch. And so Marcy and Peg just mock him mercilessly, especially when Al says they should ask Buck to verify his story.
Yeah.
And the way Peg does that, we'll bring that up later, I think. But Marcy does usefully tell Al that UFO Digest has pledged to pay $1 million to anyone with proof of aliens existing, which gives Al his next big idea. And we move forward to that night where Al has laid an elaborate sock trap leading from the bedroom window, sort of around in a trail to Peg's side of the bed where Al's waiting, hunched over with a camera.
Yep, it's a perfectly baited trap.
Yeah, it is. But for one thing that Al doesn't realise, but we'll reveal that in a minute. Right, so he's there with Peg's side of the bed, and clearly nothing's happening because we cut to a few hours later and it's pitch black and Al's asleep. He's been kneeling there for 3 hours waiting for these aliens. And Peg's got her legs on him.
Yeah, on his neck.
She thinks it's Buck at the end of the bed and kicks him off the bed.
Yep.
And Al goes crashing to the floor and takes a photo by reflex. But he realises the aliens aren't coming, and he trudges around to his side of the bed, and he sort of takes his shoes and socks off and drops them by the side of the bed, and then he lies down. And then the camera zooms in on the socks, and within just a second or two, you see some aliens picking up his socks.
Yep.
Oh, ow. But he's onto them now, and the camera pulls back and all the aliens are in the room, and Al's sitting up on the bed and he looks at them. He goes, "Oh, the socks have to be used, huh?" And they all nod. Yeah, and so while they're there, Al goes, "Oh, don't suppose you'd mind me taking a photo of you guys, would you?" And it's beautiful. They all line up and pull a nice pose for Al so that he can take their photo. And then you enter this brilliant montage of the aliens hanging out and partying with Al, and all the photos that have been taken from this party.
There's some classics.
There really is. Will we discuss those later?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, good. I think we will. I like how they finish with a whoa Bundy, but it's whoa aliens.
Yeah.
No, so this great evening of fun, and then the aliens are leaving, and Al says, "Just one last thing, guys. Are you sure you don't want the red head for your intergalactic zoo?" They all say no. Well, they shake their heads because they don't speak very much, these aliens. Anyway, they leave, and Al's very excited because he's going to get his $1 million, and he's jumping up and down on the bed, which wakes Peggy up. And she says, "Did they come out? Did you get the photos?" And he goes, "No," because he doesn't want to tell her. Yeah. She might want his cash. Anyway, we go to the next day, and we're in the interior of a Photorama film developing place. But outside, you can hear approaching Al singing like the Banana Boat song. Yeah. Anyway, here's a clip.
Pictures come and they never go home. Pictures come and they never go home. One blonde, two blondes, three blondes. Pictures come and they never go home.
Hey, Mr. Tellyman, we don't need the whole song. May I help you?
Give me my pictures. I got planes to catch, cars to buy, and families to leave.
So we all know what's going on here. Al's going to collect the money and leave his family.
Yep.
Right, so the upshot of this brilliant scene is that the Photorama guy tells Al that the machine jammed and you don't use a flashlight around negatives. And so we realise that Al's film is destroyed.
Yes.
And then, as we find out in the next scene with Al at home, a very defeated Al is talking to Peg, and she's having a go at him for having an assault charge for punching the lights out of his poor old Photorama clerk. And again, Peg is very unsympathetic. But she goes off again, leaving poor old Al on the couch alone, completely miserable. But then the aliens walk in, and they came to see the pictures, which I think is really nice. They wanted to see how it turned out. And then Al had to explain to them that there are no pictures, and so they offer to take new pictures with him. But he explains to the aliens that he's Al Bundy, and he's never meant to count, and it doesn't no matter what he does, it's not going to turn out right for him.
Yeah.
And fate will strike him down in
I like how they line up, how they assume the pose for a photo. He's like, no, guys, just whatever I do, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's all very sad. So Al's utterly defeated at this point. He knows it's not going to make any difference. So he tells the aliens all about it, as you've just said. And so they sort of comfort Al a bit. They all gather around and they're being super nice to him. But then they see his feet up on the coffee table and they motion to his socks. And he lets them take the socks for old time's sake. And as the aliens go to leave, Al just asks them, why do they want his socks? And they all in unison look at him and go, Nasuzu! And the subtitles appear below and it says fuel. And then we all get it and we go, yes, it's genius. Anyway, they say goodbye. And we've got this voiceover with sort of Star Wars text scroll up the screen. And the voiceover explains that the aliens used Al's socks to power a fleet of ships that diverted and destroyed a giant hurtling asteroid that was going to obliterate a whole bunch of inhabited planets. I think they said like 100 worlds or something.
Yep.
And on planet Philidian, the inhabitants still sing songs of the man who saved Earth and 100 worlds, and that man is Al Bundy.
Yep.
And then
What a
you've
guy.
got this music's going dan, 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 and you cut to this shot of Al on the couch scratching his armpit and then picking wax out of his ears. And it's, anyway. So it's very nice end to the episode, I thought.
Yeah.
And that's your lot. It's marvellous, I feel, but, we'll have to get to the level of marvellousness as we discuss it. So I think it's traditional at this point that I hand over to you, Steve, to give the listener a break from me speaking.
Yes, well, I was just going to say, to start with, I think you're really on point with the subject matter for this episode, because it wasn't too long ago that the Pentagon confirmed the existence of UFOs.
Yes, flying around all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the current news cycle, that news was glossed over or
Oh, well, quite. Yeah.
forgotten after about 24 hours, but yes.
Oh,
there you go.
absolutely.
Well done.
Yeah, oh, jolly good. Yes, they were ahead of their time back in 1990.
While we're dealing with that last little bit,
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's hilarious that 24 of Al's used socks
Could power
could power an entire fleet of starships.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think if we could just harness that power,
yeah, for Earth,
we could do away with fossil fuels in a heartbeat, couldn't we?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Imagine what his underpants could do. What they could power. Thanos wouldn't need the Infinity Stones. Thanos could just use a pair of Al's undies.
Al's Grundies.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's lift the tone a bit, shall we?
Yeah, all right.
Right, cool. What have you got? Any observations or other things?
Well, just the sheer simplicity of this, which I guess is similar to most other episodes of Married with Children.
Yeah, it's not complicated.
Not at all. It's the house. It's one other set, which is a pretty crummy interior of the Photoshop.
Yep.
And that's it. And it's all just... It's one of those ones where you go, this could have been absolutely ruined in the hands of lesser mortals.
Oh, yes. I agree, totally. But when you've got
It's
Ed
all down
O'Neill
Yeah.
running the show...
It's all down to the expressions.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to do your job for you, so
Oh, that's right.
I'll hand back to you now.
Ooh. Well, look, let's... I've got 3 headings here, Steve. I've got observations.
Yep.
I've got gags, and I've got moments. So I'll deal with moments because there's hardly any of those. So firstly, the whole Photorama scene. Now, that's a very short scene, and we glossed over it. But Al singing the song, and then just the dialogue where he goes, I've got... What is it? Planes to catch, cars to buy, and families to leave.
Yep.
The name's Bundy, but it'll soon change.
Yeah.
So he's going to fly to a different country.
Yep.
Change his name so Peg can't track him down with his $1 million. Yeah, that's it. I like that scene. And the both of Al's stories, which I was hyping up earlier about when he comes home from the hospital, they're up there with any of the greatest of his work stories. Yeah, I enjoyed both of those. And the other main moment is Al blowing into what we'll call the whizzer ring.
Yep.
And saying, help me, Moonman, have my socks. And just, as you say, the delivery and the expression on his face as he's doing it, he's utterly believable. And he's got laboured breathing and the whole thing, and it's magical.
I think of all the reactions to the aliens, the one in the bed, the first one in the bedroom is the best, because he's frozen to the spot.
Yeah.
And at one point, I mean, the look on his face is priceless, but he puts his hands over his face and he's like,
yeah, and he opened them a bit to see if they're still there.
Close it up again.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, so I had those 3 moments. So what about some gags?
Ooh. All right. So when Al is fishing for what he thinks is a quarter.
Yep.
He's complaining about people throwing them right across into the middle, I guess, of this pond or whatever it is that he's wading into. And he says, do they really think that their dreams are going to come true the closer they get it to the drain?
Yeah. Why, have they got to whip it out there?
Yeah, whip it right out there into the middle.
Yeah.
So he's having a pretty good whinge about that. I like the way that when the aliens appear for the second time, one pokes its head into view from upside down.
That's actually the 3rd time.
Oh, the 3rd time?
Yeah, no, and I've got a rant about that, so I 100% agree.
That's sheer genius. I wonder how they made that happen. They someone grabbed them
by the ankles, dangled them down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you want to go for your rant then about that?
Oh no.
Okay. Another gag is Al complaining that Peg has spilled the beans about his alien encounter
to the kids.
And she says, it's the first thing that's happened in our bedroom in 5 years, and
you want me not to
tell? I'm not supposed to say anything?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's a typical Peggy burn.
Yeah.
Oh. All right, well, then from here on in, it's just going to be me going on about how great this is. So you'll have to interrupt me with amazing insights,
all right,
Steve.
I'll try.
So let's go back to that bit where the alien had come down from the ceiling. So the aliens have stolen Al's socks for the first time, and then he tells Peg, she doesn't believe him, goes back to sleep. Al looks over at the window again. And then the 2 times before that, the aliens had been right way up, just looking into the window like I was about to say like a normal human being, but that doesn't work. Like a peeper.
Yes.
Peep, peep. Right. But yes, the 3rd time when Al looks over to reassure himself after the first 2 horrifying times, they ramp it up by having that alien come down from the top and one from the side. And that really flips him out at that point. And as you say, it is genius. They've saved it up. They've had that in the arsenal. But I do wonder who came up with that. It seems like the sort of thing you'd come up with on the day.
What if we dangled one upside down?
Yeah. I absolutely
That'd do his head in.
It totally would. It is genius. But what I want to know, Steve, is then the second time they went in, they appeared, they went in, they got his socks, they were out of there. So why did they come back and look at Al through 3 different perspectives in the window?
They knew there was more.
Yeah, we shouldn't be looking for plot holes. Right. So I did some number crunching, Steve, on whether it would have been worth slipping on the wishing pond slime to get some change.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, your quarter obviously is 25 American cents, and then a nickel is probably 5 and a dime is 10, obviously. Yep. So that's 25 American cents. Now, in 1990 value, that's around 52 cents today, which in Australian dollar doos is 75 cents. It was 74, but I rounded up to 75. Is it worth going through the Wishing Pond Fountainy Mall thingo for 75 cents?
No.
But
the thing I love is that after we've been through the whole story about him taking a Burton in the pond, in the Wishing Pond, they then head off to the movies.
Yeah.
And they probably spend $30 or something like that.
Yeah.
Going to the movies.
And
poor Al.
Peggy would have offered to treat Marcy or something like that, and they would have all gotten Raisinets and
a choc top. So here's Al scrimping and saving, pond diving,
injuring himself in the process,
and they're just spending money willy-nilly. So,
yeah. Well, maybe Al was going to put it into his retirement fund, and we know what happens with that one on a different episode.
You're talking about the savings for the car?
Yeah.
He buries in the backyard?
That's right.
In a shoebox?
That Peggy's already spent or something like that? Yeah. Okay. So, more great gags. Now, this is in the bedroom before the aliens turn up. I just love that line where he says, I just can't stop thinking about all the nickels and dimes I passed over to get to that beer tab. Al's just dreaming of the 5 senses and 10 senses. It's just brilliant. But Peggy's response is, well, next time wear a helmet before you go a-coinin.
Yeah. Duh.
That was brilliant.
Is this why he's supposed to be working, or what's going on?
Well, I don't know, probably. Oh, but Peg has no sympathy for Al, and she's recalling the story of when the car fell on him.
Yeah.
And she goes, I really got a lot of sleep that night. I can't feel my legs. What? Poor old Al.
Yeah. You probably need medical attention.
Yeah.
Now go to sleep.
And then 5 seconds later, she's like, oh, Al, I can't sleep. Rub my tushy.
Yeah.
And he puts on his catcher's mitt so that he doesn't have to touch her, even through the doona.
Yeah. He does it for
He's
about
rubbing her backside.
20 seconds.
But
then
then,
he's done.
yeah, after all these brilliant gags, then you got the crowning glory where Al stops rubbing Peg's tushy, takes off the glove, looks at it and goes, once the mighty athlete.
Yep.
And we're reminded that Al was once the mighty athlete. But again, it's just the way he delivers it. Also special mention to when Al's really flipped out and Marcy and Peg are there with him on the couch. And he's going, they came in here and they took my socks, they went to the hamper and they took all the... Does that sound like the ramblings of an idiot? Ask Buck, he was here. And Peg just goes, Buck, honey, can you tell me what you and Daddy saw? I love that whole Ask Buck thing. That was fantastic. All right, let's get on to these photos, Steve.
All right, go on then.
Woohoo! Now, which ones do you remember in the alien party that they took photos of?
My favourite one is, it's him singing with the guitar with the aliens gathered around as if they're sitting at a campfire.
With a
And
big sing-along.
Kumbaya, my lord. They're all swaying backwards and forwards. They're into it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I heard you laughing as you saw that one. So some of these photos they did, obviously, you know how Al, when he's lying on the couch, likes to have his hand in his pants, and he got all the aliens to put their hands in their pants. And then they're reenacting high school football plays with Al, and they're pretending to hold their noses when they're standing next to Peggy to imply that she stinks. And then they one-up that one even better by having an alien lying in bed next to Peg smoking a cigarette, as if to imply they've just done the alien business.
A post-coital cigarette.
Oh, man. But Peg gets Al back for all of this, even though she doesn't know what's happening, with a great burn later on where she says, well, I'm off to see your lawyer, Al, in your case against the Photorama guy defending yourself. I'm going to tell him that a previous judge had already declared you legally stupid, and that might help your defence. Obviously she delivered it far better than I did just there, but that was a really good line, I thought.
We know that Al couldn't afford a lawyer. He'd have better luck with his insanity plea.
He totally would.
Aliens have been stealing my socks, Your Honour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we're in the home stretch now, so I'm going to keep putting the case. We got to talk about Ed O'Neill. Now, I've already praised him quite a bit here, but he has to be one of the top 5 sitcom actors of all time, I think. It's just sheerly based on the things he is asked to do from week to week. And it's just completely bonkers, but he does it with so much conviction. And then you've got someone like Will Ferrell who has no shame, right? If you ask Will Ferrell to do something, he'll just do it. And he doesn't care. But you could claim the same for Ed O'Neill, but he does it with more subtlety and believability, and he's less over the top. But you always believe that Al Bundy's actually having these reactions. You don't think, oh, there's an actor doing his job.
Yep.
You just believe Al Bundy is Al Bundy. It's a masterclass in comic acting, basically. All the mannerisms, the facial expressions.
I wouldn't claim to be a Will Ferrell expert, but
yeah.
Ed's definitely giving it 110% here,
totally.
And he's selling it.
Yeah, but not in a completely over-the-top way. Right, so I watched about 10 other episodes that I consider Married with Children classics in order to pick this one out. And they all had some sort of problem with them that I thought, Steve's not going to like that bit. And then when I got to this one, and I knew you already knew of this one, but then I was looking for things to count it out about, and I couldn't really find anything. So it's perfectly laid out. It's got a small cast. It's all focused on Al. It's well-paced. It's superbly acted. It's ridiculous, and it's crossed a threshold of ridiculousness that sort of led to a new era of Married with Children. this one. So there's that moment, right, where, this is season 5. And when it started out, Married with Children was borderline serious. It had the two married couples and their different approaches to life.
Yep.
And then they get to this point. They've been building up levels of ridiculousness, becoming more divorced from reality. And then this is the one where they brought aliens into it and it crossed the Rubicon of, into latter Married with Children. And so if you think of it as being like if you had an episode of Family Ties, like we mentioned earlier, or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where aliens come down and land and they're real actual aliens, you'd be going, nah, man.
No, this is Mighty Boosh territory.
That's right. It's jumped the shark. But no, they've done it in a way in this particular episode that led to all sorts of fantastic things. In fact, the next 2 episodes of Married with Children that directly follow this one are also in the all-time top 10. Yeah, so it's very memorable, and when you watch it again, it ages well. And so that's my case for including this in the Hall of Fame. I wanted to revisit Married with Children.
Yes. Well, I really like this one.
Yeah?
I'm going to give it 5 smelly socks out of 5.
5 smelly socks out of 5 aliens.
Yep. No, I can't have an odd number of socks. It'll have to be 6 out of 6.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. No, I like it. I'm very glad.
No, it's a cracker. Very memorable. I haven't seen it for however many years, but still came flooding back. Yes, it's very good.
All right, well, I'm super chuffed to bits, and I'm sure that the Married with Children people will be as well. So it's your turn next time for the other June episode.
Yep.
Have you already selected what you're going to be bringing us?
No.
No? Oh,
no, I'm winging it.
Okay.
Could be anything. I'm watching about 6 different shows at the moment.
Yeah. All right, well, before we go, let's just hear some of these shows you're watching.
Space Force.
Yeah?
Yep. I'm watching 15 Stories High, which is an English one that one of our listeners suggested.
Okay.
Still working my way through Arrested Development, and I've started Community. There's a lot of things that have come out on Netflix recently, so a couple of new seasons of Schitt's Creek
on
Netflix as well. Oh, man.
You've got a bit to get through.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and you're still trying to finish off What We Do in the Shadows as they come out.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's very good.
It's a smorgasbord.
Yes. Well, we need you to live in the present while I live in the past.
Yes.
But yes, I'm looking forward to coming back and figuring out whether your next nomination should go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I'll do the best I can.
Cool.
Well, thanks for joining us, listeners, and we'll see you again in a fortnight.
Yeah.
See you then.
Cheers. Join us next time on Sitcom Showdown when we'll be putting another 5-star episode under the microscope. And in the meantime, you can contact us with feedback on Facebook, Twitter @Sitcom Showdown, or by email sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.